Hello, welcome to ABW Live. How the devil are we all? Bit of a day. For the first time in 22 years, we have a new manager. We'll have a number of the guys joining us today, but at the moment, I've got Dom, Danny, and Josh. I'm just going to give some shout outs to the guys in the chat box. First in the chat box tonight was Christian Anderson. Then there's Ron Reed. Then there's Michael Donahue. Hypno Showed. Archie. No nickname required. Luka Kolakusic. Lossless. Kevin Lebeck. Sheffiq One. Some guy. Corey CLS. We also had Pete Colson. Pete Colson will be here in no time whatsoever. How the devil are we all? Dave Smith is there. Mark Wright is there. Ooh, it's all warming up now. Tell you what, guys. Jake Rosenberg's there. I don't know what to say. Let's get straight into it. We're just going to have a quick chat with a couple of guys about how they feel about this appointment. It was only a couple of nights ago we did a live show, and all the talk was about Arteta. Well, you know, the club are full of flanker, to be fair to them, and good for them. Johnny Hubbard, North Bank Lowers here. Rudy Rastlos, Loki 73. Nikhil, and I tell you what, I love this chat box. I absolutely love this chat box.
And we refused to do what's known in the trade as a John Cross until it was official, didn't we?
wait, let's not mention John Cross. I think he's a bit upset at the moment. Okay, straight to Dom. Dom, the other night we spoke, it was all about Arteta. We spoke about our concerns. We spoke about the upsides of it. And, you know, I remember speaking to you privately on Saturday night, and we did say there could be a flanker on the way. Didn't realize this was going to happen. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about it?
I think confused, very confused. I mean, it does seem bizarre. They were so intent on Arteta. They seemed very, very happy with that appointment. And then last minute, almost, it was all about Emery. So I'm not really sure what happened. I don't think anybody really knows, but the word from some of the journos that seem to know what they're talking about, it wasn't Arteta pulling out. It was the club changing their decision last minute, which does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Sky reported that he pulled out. I don't think we'll ever know the truth unless somebody actually comes out and states it. I
mean, a couple of the journos that are kind of close to that sort of thing said that it wasn't Arteta pulling out. He would have loved the job. And why last minute would he have decided to not take it? That seems very bizarre after all of those talks and being linked so closely for so long. Whether it was Gazidis getting cold feet last minute and wanting to go with someone a little bit more experienced because we spoke about this, didn't we, Jace, about how if that Arteta appointment went wrong, there is nowhere for him to hide. Gazidis, that is. There's absolutely nowhere for him to hide. Whereas if this doesn't work out, he can Emery is going to shoulder most of the blame because he is an experienced manager. So I'm not sure. I just want something different, to be honest. I think, you know, looking in the chat box tonight, I think a lot of people sort of probably feel a little bit the same, where something to talk about next season would be nice as far as tactics and player positions and all of that kind of stuff. And it's going to take us a little while before we start to figure out what it is that he's trying to do. It's not going to happen overnight. So I'm a little bit unsure. I'm not unhappy. He wasn't my first pick, but I don't want to be one of those Arsenal fans that's crying out for change, but then complaining at every single person we get linked with. So I'm not too underwhelmed. I'm not too overwhelmed. I'm just whelmed. Can you be just whelmed, Josh?
I don't think you can, but we're going pretty close to it. But yeah, it's an interesting appointment, isn't it, Jace, from that point of view, because it's so left field in a way that just never been mentioned. I think I said when we were talking about Arteta, there was still that kind of Jardine went very, very quiet. And you had that inkling that Arsenal were doing something and someone would come in. But I think the shouting was so loud.
We were, on Sunday, on Saturday and Sunday, we were hearing such strong rumours. It was Arteta. I mean, for Pete Colson now, he's there and he's just saying, Arteta pulled up my arse. Be careful, Pete. Be careful. But I really don't know. It wouldn't surprise me because I think there is a hangover with Gazidis on the amount of power that Wenger had. And again, it is a first appointment for Arteta. You know, as Don mentioned, there was no hiding place for Ivan. I think, you know, Unai Emery is a manager who's won trophies. He's won European trophies. You know, he's a good technical coach. Right? I know a lot of people are kind of dismissing the appointment, but for me, I think it's a very smart appointment by Gazidis and Josh Kroenke. I think it covers them, and at the same time, you know, it's a bit of a brave new world appointment, which is what we were looking for. Quick couple of shout outs: Walrus and the Hedgehog, Pete Colson, Johnny Hubbard, Michael Donahue, Mad Wyard's there. Oh, there's somebody I wanted to catch. Rudy Rastlos is there. Formerly Noz is there. Natasha Tash Nunez is there. We love Tash. But there was somebody a little bit earlier on who just summed it all up quite well. Yeah, here we go. Nikhil Naidu. And he basically said, this is the first new manager I've ever known at the Arsenal. So, you know, this is going to be quite...
I want to poke Josh for some questions, since he's probably the only one on here that's actually takes an interest in football outside of the UK. I know I don't watch too much PSG. Have you watched much of them, Josh?
Yeah, I've watched them purely for Neymar, who's probably one of my favourite.
One of the questions I have is, what formation and basic system has he been running with PSG? And that's not to say that he's going to do the same thing at Arsenal, because obviously it comes down to personnel. But do you want to give us a bit of an insight into what he's known for?
Yeah, so PSG is an interesting one because it's almost an exception to the rule. What he wanted to do there was implement his 4-2-3-1 that he was so successful at Sevilla, where he had two massive guys in the middle in Nzonzi and Krychariak, who I believe we were linked with last year or in the summer window, who ended up at West Brom. And yeah, he just moved to PSG, and the structure of that club is all defined. I think all the power is in the dressing room, and then with the owner, there's nothing in between. So he was told, well, I want to be successful, so I want to implement the system that I know best, but was told, no, 4-3-3 is what we want to see. That's the PSG way. That's what you're implementing. And we saw that with them being defensively unstable. And just overall, the fallout that came from his tenure, I think people were calling him for coming out and leaving the club. Later in this, you know, quite early in the season, Tuchel was announced that he'd be going to PSG. I think he's just kind of struggled with the fact that he wasn't given as much free rein as needed. I don't think that's going to be a problem at Arsenal, because I think we've got sensible people on the board, or at least in the footballing part of the board, that are sensible, will allow him to play that game where high intensity, especially for getting the ball back. So we will see players tracking back, trying to wing the ball back, and then breaking again. The likes of having someone like Ava Banega at number 10, who realistically was more of a central midfielder rather than an outstanding playmaker. Because we saw that at Inter when they tried to replicate the system, and he just completely bombed out and went back to Spain with his tail between his legs. I'd look at him as a kind of hallmark player for Emery, and I think we'll also look, and I think he alluded to in his press conference, that he does want a player to come in that midfield. And bearing in mind, Ivan said there was a dossier that he did on every single one of our players about their strengths and weaknesses. I think he knows already that he only needs a couple of additions to the squad, and I would expect one of them to be that kind of big midfielder, someone a little bit between an Nzonzi and a Krychariak, because I don't think one of them is defensively good enough, and I think the other is not technically good enough for the Arsenal.
So what you're saying is we might finally get a defensive midfielder. What do you reckon, Jace? We're going to finally see a defensive midfielder.
I think we're going to finally see a defensively aware midfielder, not a DM. I think this is going to be that holding aspect of the game, which we've missed out on for a while. And you know, there's going to be exciting times down the line now. I think, you know, we'll see an improvement in. I think the biggest issue for us as a club is improving what we have, let alone who's coming in. It's getting the best out of what we already have, and that's going to be interesting. You saw with his time at Sevilla, you know, we thought Reyes' career was dead. He reinvigorated that. He had Freddie Canute there for a while. Did he? Josh, was Canute there under him?
Oh, I've been right at the beginning, not that long. Because Mustafi had already left. Yeah, because by the time he left Valencia, Mustafi was coming in. So they never worked together.
I'm sorry, with Freddie Canute.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to work out players there, but I was trying to get my timeline together.
Yeah, all right, sorry. But, you know, we you know, this guy comes with a bit of a CV. Now, Dom, you know, what do you think are the most important aspects that he has to address first?
Structure. I've been screaming for structure for at least two seasons now. I think that the way that this is how I've seen Arsenal playing, and, you know, you guys feel free to jump in and tell me if you've seen it differently, but it's, you know, play out from the back, bit too slowly, let teams get back and they sit back and defend. We don't use width. We try to one-touch our way through a box of defenders and you know, poke it into the net. It gets turned over. We get counter-attacked. They either score or it's just rinse and repeat. So I'm just looking forward to something a little different where maybe we play counter-attacking football, which seems to be, you know, working well for certain teams. Maybe we play a possession-based game where we spread the ball wide and use wingers a bit more. I'm not sure. You know, John said in our little group earlier that Lucas Perez is being recalled, but I think that's just to be the interpreter. I don't think that's got anything to do with him playing football. We'll see, though. That could be interesting.
Harsh.
But I'm not sure. I think structure is the big thing. You know, he's so tactically aware, and, you know, he was talking about, you know, all the video that he watches and, you know, sending video home for players to watch. And his biggest issue is going to be, are the players going to buy into him? You know, and that the English thing for me, I think, is an issue. You got someone that's coming in that some of these players have only ever known one man. And then to bring somebody in that you're not going to be able to build those personal relationships when you can't speak the same language. So I'm hoping the club have got enough people around him that they can sort of cover for that. But I'm not too sure. Let's give John a welcome. What's going on, John?
Hello. Sorry, I literally just walked in, and yeah, as you can see, I'm well dressed because I just quickly worked off my work here. Yeah, so it's the announcement what we thought was going to happen, although we did say the same thing about Arteta, so there was still a little bit of trepidation. I haven't been able to watch from the start of the show, but since everything that's been done yesterday, I've looked more into Emery myself and got over the initial thing of not getting Arteta, and now I've come around to it. I'm more excited and actually think it is a good decision. Yeah, just looking through the list of some of the players he's managed, the ones he's improved. He's worked within a structure like this, very similar at Sevilla with Monchi in charge as director of football. I think there's a few people I've seen in the chat already saying, you know, don't judge him on his time at PSG, which I think is fair because yeah, he did make mistakes in the Madrid and the Barca game, but other than that, he's done basically everything that he's been asked there in a climate where he hasn't really got any control at all whatsoever, and it's basically do what Neymar says. So yeah, I'm really excited. I thought his press conference was really interesting. I thought he came across very well. I was impressed that he did it in English. His very broken English is much better than my terrible Spanish, that's for sure. I think I've got hola and that's about it, and I probably pronounced that wrong. You're not even supposed to do the H, are you? So, yeah, I'm just looking forward and excited to see what happens. It's what we've cried out for, is a guy who can do tactics. He's very in depth, and I think we will also see, you know, come the start of the season, not straight away, obviously, but what players are willing to fight for their place, who really needs the direction, who wants to win things, and we'll see which ones just want to coast and then get shipped out of the club. Because if you don't work hard, I'd imagine you're not going to be sticking around long with Emery as the coach, or you're not going to be selected anyway, that's for sure.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Josh, I want to come to you. So obviously at Sevilla, Emery worked under a certain regime and a certain framework. Then going to PSG, you had this very tight framework, which you've already mentioned, where he has to do what is expected of him. He has no free rein. Now, coming to the Arsenal, obviously Ivan's trying to set up a framework within which he and the guys can work within. Okay. Do you think this is going to be like a holiday to him? Do you think he's going to slip like it's going to fit like a glove for him? How do you see this working out?
Yeah, with the three musketeers that Ivan alluded to himself, Raul and Sven, I think we've got a great, potentially world-class structure there. They've worked at huge clubs. I think Ivan, albeit with MLS, setting up a whole league, he's got those kind of basic project management skills that he'll be able to, bring these 2 and 3 guys together. You've got Sven, who's worked at the highest level of Borussia Dortmund, and then you've got Raul, who was absolutely huge at Barcelona. I think it would be incredible if Emery managed to fail in that kind of system, unless they don't
integrate the kiss of death of it. He's put the kiss of death in it already, hasn't he?
Well, you'd love it because you'd blame Ivan.
No, I don't want to. I want this guy to succeed. Look, I do not like Ivan Gazidis. I think for 10 years he's had a free ride and has just briefed the press. That's all he's done. I don't see anything concrete he's done.
Will you be holidaying?
Hey, if you think I want anybody at Arsenal Football Club to fail, you're wrong. I want everybody to well, whether it be an Arteta or thing. But this is the side of it where, it's a brave new world. Dan, can you send the invite to Jeff, just in case he's free, please? I'm going to come to you in a second for his history, Dan. Dom, so we're going to see a change on the bench for the first time in 22 years. And it's going to be a bit of a culture shock. How do you expect him to be accepted by the wider fan base? The sort of Twitterati are not typical of the fans in the stadium. Do you think this appointment is going to be met with excitement?
That is a tough question, Jace. I think the stadium, to me, is going to be a little bit, I won't say quiet, but I think they're going to just wait. They're just going to be a little bit kind of nervous like the rest of us, and they're going to be waiting to see what happens. And kind of, I think the football is going to be the big factor as to whether he's accepted or not by everybody. If the football's good and we get off to a good start and have a few good wins, how quickly, fans chop and change and when it comes to their thoughts and opinions on these things. So you are right. I mean, Twitter is a very small percentage of Arsenal fans in general, and it just so happens that Twitter is where all the loudest voices kind of lie sometimes. But I think everyone's similar to us, where we're not necessarily disappointed. We're not over the moon. We're just kind of waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, I just think it's a smart appointment. I just think, it's one where if it fails, then you have an experienced manager. It's on his head. As long as you've given him the tools, there's no comeback on Ivan, etc. So I think it's a smart appointment, and it's one of those, not him in particular, but it's the type of appointment I was hoping for. Steve, the Lord Hillwood, has joined us. How are you, Steve? You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I've just managed to drag myself back in. It's still bloody 25 outside. I was sweating more than Gary Glitter's Paperboy when I got through the front door.
Oh, Jesus wept. He's gone there already. Steve, I just want to come to Danny before I come to you, pal, okay?
Right.
So bear with me a second. Dan?
Yeah.
Right, if you can just give us a quick brief on Emery's career, please. Would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm only up to the point where he's joined Sevilla, but he's had an interesting career. He 86, 87 until 89, 90. He was in the Real Sociedad Academy. And then in Spain, your reserve teams play in the league. So he was in 90 to, what is this one, to 95. He was playing for Real Sociedad B, all in Division 3, 4th, 8th, 9th, 7th, 10th. Then he was moved up to the first team for 95, 96 in Division 1. They finished 7th. He only played 5 games, got 1 goal. I think that was in an 8-1 thrashing with someone. Then he left them at the end of the season. He went to Toledo in Division 2, 14th, then 12th, then 7th, all in Division 2. And then they got relegated in his last season there when they finished 22nd. So he left and he went to Racing Ferrol, again in Spain, Division 2, 16th. Next season, 9th. Then he left those. He went to Leganés. And they were in Division 2. They finished 19th. And now I know he played 29 games and got 9 goals. I'm sure. This is all off a wiki, so I might have edited it. And then he left those after that season. His final playing career season was in Division 3 with Lorca Deportiva. 38 games and 1 goal. He got injured at the end of that season. I think he was 32 at the end of that 03-04 season. And then he went on, then I think the team kind of reformed because it says they were only formed in 2002, this Lorca Deportiva. So he went from playing in 03-04 to being their manager in 04-05. Now, I'm not sure yet whether he was manager or assistant manager, but either way, at 32, he was, it said he was manager. So that season, they finished 4th in Division 3. They got promoted. And then the next season, they were in Division 2 and they finished 5th. And so he left them and they got relegated the next season. He went to Almeria in Division 2 in Spain. And then he got them promoted in his very first season. And then his first season in La Liga, they finished 8th. And then he left them. And 2 seasons after that, they were relegated out of La Liga. And then so after he left Almeria, he went to Valencia. And he finished 6th, 3rd. And then after that, he left. I mean, he had players like David Villa in his best season, got 28 goals in 33 games. He was maybe averaging about 10 losses a season, which is pretty good. But to finish 3rd 3 seasons in a row is amazing. Then he went off to Russia in May 2012. He went and signed for Spartak Moscow, a 2-year contract. By November, they'd had enough of him. He lost 5-1 and they went, "Oh, that's it, you're sacked." So apparently he played 26, won 12, drew 3, lost 11. And then it wasn't until January 2013 he got the manager's job at Sevilla. That season they finished 5th in La Liga and they won the Europa League. And the rest of it I'm going to have to go and take from Twitter. So where was that? They finished 5th and won the Europa League. Then the next season he got them to 5th in the league again and again the Europa League. And next season 7th, runners-up in the Spanish Cup. And what's this one here? This is the...
He won the Europa League again. 3 years.
Europa League again. Oh, it's the European Cup they were runners-up in. Well, you can only either win that or be runners-up in that. That's the only 2 things you can do. And then after that, he's went to PSG, where his first season, they were, I think they run up to Monaco, weren't they? Yeah. And then his second season, they won it all. But in the first season at PSG, didn't he win 2 cups, like the FA Cup and the Charity Shield?
League Cup and the FA Cup equivalent, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Well, there you go. So the thing from there that I take is really good. That as soon as he went into management, he got him promoted next season, and then he got another small team promoted, and then all those seasons of finishing 3rd. I mean, to take a team like Valencia, who were magnificent under Rafa Benitez. Yeah, and so they won the league a couple of times with him and I think they got to a couple of Champions League finals or won. And so he just carried on that tradition. I don't know why he left Valencia. Maybe it was the money of Spartak, but seems like he's definitely a manager that I approve of, and I'd much rather have him than Arteta because this bloke has got a track record of success. Go on.
Yeah, that's the Russian clubs are throwing money about at that time. Steve, I want to come to you. As Danny's gone through there, there's a breadth of experience there, good and bad. That should hold him in good stead to be able to deal with the challenges ahead, isn't it? You know, it's a big difference appointing a guy like Emery with the body of work that he has, as opposed to appointing Mikel Arteta with 2 seasons coaching. Are you on mute, Steve?
Yeah, massively so. I mean, First of all, I mean, there's another added point there that Mikel Arteta is too well known to many of the players, and there's an issue about how they would adapt to someone who was formerly a workmate becoming their boss. But I think if you look at Emery's track record, it's pretty solid. He pretty ticks all the boxes of what Arsenal want. He develops young players. He takes players whose careers look like they're fucked and resurrects them, which he did with Jose Antonio Reyes. He is an obsessive organizer. He's an obsessive driller. He likes to sit down with players one-on-one and sits there and take them through all their mistakes. And he's very tactically astute. He even edits his own videos. I don't think Gazidis will be letting him do that at Arsenal. But I mean, I think it shows you that the bloke's got so much experience that he wants to impart it to people, and that's just a sort of if you like, a measure of the manager he is. And I think for let's put it into perspective, Arsenal's worth £2 billion. It's England's third most successful football club. It's the biggest club in London, and it's probably got the biggest online fan presence of all clubs out there going. And you can't just risk entrusting something of that huge magnanimity to someone who's got 2 seasons of coaching. I think this is an appointment that has got a lot of sense written through it. It's also an appointment which is going to see the club go forward and develop. And also as well, players that need help are going to get it. Those players that don't think they need help are going to get it. And a lot of them are going to get a general kick up the backside, which, let's be fair, we've all been wanting to do ourselves to one or another of them in the past.
Absolutely, pal. Absolutely. Dom, I know you're short on time, so I just want to ask you a couple of questions. So if you want one thing from Emery, okay, with regards to an existing player, okay, actually, you give me 2 existing players and how you'd like to see Emery improve them.
Oh, geez. You're asking all the tough ones, Jace. 2 existing players. I think Ozil's probably a big one. And I want to see him improve Ozil by putting some good defensive structures around him, because Ozil isn't going to be this, box to box, crazy midfielder tracking back, slide tackling and doing all of that kind of stuff. I think if you're going to play counter-attacking football with Arsenal, Ozil, that's where you'll get him at his best, because he's finally got someone to pass through balls to now with Lacazette and Aubameyang. So I think that's going to work well, but he only works if he's got some hard-working midfielders in behind him and some defenders that can defend. So I think he's going to be able to hopefully get more out of Ozil, not necessarily by improving him as a player, but improving the structure around him. And I think Hector Bellerin, I think he's another one who would really benefit from some guidance and from some structure and some one-on-one coaching, so he knows exactly what he's supposed to be doing. Because I think that there's a player there that probably didn't really kick on this season, I don't think. But when you look overall at our defensive makeup and our defensive setup, I don't actually think you can really point fingers at individuals so much. It's the easy thing to do with defense, because if they make one mistake, it usually costs you a goal, so it's highlighted. Whereas if you're a forward and you make a mistake, it's, probably a goal kick at worst. So I think those 2 players for me, that's one defensive and one more attacking, that I think we might be able to hopefully get a little bit more out of. But I think there's a lot of players. I think you could probably include, if Mustafi stays around, I think Xhaka, if he stays around, potentially Iwobi. I think there's a lot.
Yeah, I think to be fair, I think he's got a fairly big canvas with his with the technical side of what he does. Josh, who do you expect him to get the best out of?
Oh,
who do you think he could really turn around and say, I know you're a big Alex Iwobi fan, I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Mustafi and the technical side of his defending. You've got the young boy Mavropanos, but pick one for me. Pick one where you think, I think he could do this.
I think we'll see and appreciate Granit Xhaka next season. I think he had a superb season, but get a defensive player next to him and get some proper structure, and you will see him go to another level. And that's the player that I'm really excited to see next season.
Pretty definitive. Nice. John? John, you there?
Yeah. Same
No,
question.
I'm
sorry.
asking you. I'm not. No. You're having something different.
Oh,
You're
gosh.
having something different. Who can you see him ship out?
Mustafi. Straight away.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with Koscielny got 1 foot.
I think we need to buy defenders anyway, and I'm still not convinced by Mustafi at all.
Did Mustafi play for him at Valencia?
No, there's a 2-year gap.
No,
He'd already left.
Okay. Well, that's pretty definitive. A quick shout out to Raj Patel.
Yes, I'm here.
Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
Can you hear me
How
all
the
right?
devil are you? I can hear you. You okay?
How is everyone today? Everyone excited?
Very much so, pal. How excited are you? And well, tell you what, let's just get straight into it. How do you feel about this? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking about all this at the moment?
I'm pretty relaxed about it all. I'm not going to make any judgments just yet. I urge every single Arsenal fan out there to relax, enjoy the summer, and not worry too much. Let him get on with his job. He's got a big job to do. He's going to kick some players out. In my opinion, if he wants to put out a statement of intent, he can fuck Ozil off straight away. But I don't think he'll do that. But yeah, Mustafi will go, and he'll bring some players in, and let's just give him a little while, and not worry about what happens in the first few weeks of the season. And let's talk again at Christmas. I think there's too many people worrying about stuff when he hasn't even done a 5 minutes work yet. So give him a chance, please, everyone.
We'll judge him in May, Raj.
We'll judge him next May. Yeah, well, we could start. I could actually start using that. Judge him in May. Yeah, we might as well just reverse all that AKB shit and use their terms now as well. I've quite enjoyed Arsenal governor having a bit of an epileptic fit today. So just enjoy it. And it, don't worry about anything. Let's see what happens.
To be fair, Raj, I mean, I've quite enjoyed all the ITKs I've heard from my sources. It's so-and-so and this and that and what have you. And then this guy comes from left field. Absolute left field. I mean, you hear quite a lot. You're quite well, I'm not sure about popular, but you're very well known.
Yeah, I'm extremely popular.
You're popular in my eyes.
Last week's pod, we all thought it was Arteta. We were convinced it was Arteta. Yeah. So we don't know what's been going on behind the scenes, whether stories are that Arteta decided he didn't want to join us because of the transfer restrictions and all that kind of stuff. And this was a last minute kind of change of mind by Ivan Gazidis or whatever. His press conference today was very interesting in the way that he for some reason, he set out how they chose Emery. You don't normally see that or hear that at these kind of press conferences. So maybe he was trying to justify this selection, but we've got him now. And whether you think 3 Europa Leagues and some decent finishes in the French leagues are good enough to join Arsenal, well, forget it. He's here now. Just give him a chance. I'm begging every single Arsenal fan out there just to give this guy a chance.
Well said. I mean, I've got to be honest with you, Steve. I'm going to come to you again. We've all spoken about Arteta and the group, some have you, and there were well-founded concerns about appointing a guy with 2 seasons coaching as the manager, and yet we have, this brought in totally under the radar. I love the fact that there's all these people whose uncle is so-and-so at the club all look like mugs now. I think that's great, Ivan's done something positive in my mind at the moment, so I'm quite enjoying it. But Emery's going to have to do a lot of work very quickly, and so is Sven. We have a World Cup coming up, okay? Obviously, we have to get a couple of players in. We need to refresh and strengthen and keep the squad challenging. Do you think he has any names in mind that he will want Sven to go and get? How do you see that working out?
First things first, I don't think he'll leave anything to any chances. He's already told Lucas Perez that he's got to report back for pre-season on July the 2nd.
He needs a translator, mate.
Huh?
He needs a translator.
Who does?
Emery.
Oh yes, I know he does. But I mean, Lucas Perez can speak Spanish. Fuck's sake! He's already apparently Arsenal told Perez to get his arse back for pre-season. So it shows you that he's not ruling anybody out. I think given the fact that in his interview he was supposed to have provided a dossier which contains stats and weaknesses and advantages on every single player we've got, the fact that he sat and analysed all that, I think he's pretty much got a good idea of who he's going to improve, who he's tempted to put on the to-go list, and who he's humming and hawing over with, what sort of player he wants to replace them with. I agree with what Josh said earlier about a big DM type coming in, because he had that with Krakowiak at Paris Saint-Germain, and Banega was a similar player at Seville. He also likes wide players who can control the ball well, someone like Reyes, for example. But yeah, I think he probably has got in mind the sort of player he wants. Probably not who. He might have some who's in his mind from the Spanish league. But I think his first time. I mean, I think the luckiest thing is this is the first World Cup with the least number of Arsenal players going to the World Cup. So he'll have most of the players for a full pre-season, most of the players to be able to put into the new system and drill and start to work with it. It will take time. I mean, his first job's going to be the defence, and he's got to work with what he's got. I mean, my own feeling is when Koscielny gets fit again, I think we'll let him go. I don't think we'll keep him. I don't think he's up to the job anymore. Whether he ships Mustafi out is another thing entirely. Perhaps he feels he can do more with Mavropanos and Holding and Chambers. No one knows, but one thing's for sure is he's definitely got a plan in his mind about what he's going to do with the players that are there, who he can improve, who he's got on a list to hum and har over, and who's going. So that will tell me if he's that methodically done that, then he will have a list of what sort of player and who he would like to come in.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. Dom, bearing in mind now, Emery's done all this homework on the squad. He's looked at everybody in detail. He understands. In his mind, he understands what's gone wrong because he'll have looked at the games. He'll have looked at the player performances, etc. He's gonna have some attacking headaches next season. You have Aubameyang, you have Lacazette, you've got Ozil. You've got Mkhitaryan, you've got Ramsey in the mix. You've got all these players in the mix. Do you think we're going to see strength coming from the bench a lot, or do you think he's going to, try to get as much attacking talent on the pitch straight away as possible?
I'm not sure with what he's done with PSG. Like someone said earlier, I don't think that's the best comparison to make because it's just a little bit of a different situation there. But with his if he does a 4-2-3-1, I think it's more a question of what he's going to do with the midfielders. Because if he does bring somebody in, which it sounds like he probably wants to in that midfield role, what does that mean for Xhaka? Is he one of the two? If he brings in a new person and Xhaka next to him, then where does Ramsey fit? Because Ozil's obviously probably more so the attacking guy unless you put Ozil out wide. But then you've only got one of Lacazette or Aubameyang up top. So there is definitely some issues there. What I would say is that it's very rare that they're all going to be fit at the same time for long periods of time with the way and the demands of Premier League football now. Especially if he wants to come in and play a pressing game full of intensity, we're going to need rotation. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think there's necessarily a pressing need to try to shoehorn the two strikers in. I think it's just wait and see. I think it's exciting either way. It's a good headache to have. Just on that, I'm going to sneak off, lads. I've got to get off to work. So if everyone in the chat box could do me a little favor, I'm going to give a little plug to the show before I go. We've got some fun and interesting shows coming up. We've got a little bit of a sneaky transfer special coming up as well. So if you want to subscribe to the channel and click the little bell icon so you know that we've gone live, that will help us out. And it means that you won't miss any of the fun and interesting conversation. And I'm sure Raj will be on all of the ITK shows because that's his favorite thing to do.
Definitely.
Hey, thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries.
He's got a job.
Take care, pal.
All right.
Josh, there's been a comment in the box that, why we talk about who Emery will want to get in because it's all done in Maitland-Niles now. Surely Emery will have input, then they're not going to just shoehorn players on top of him. They're going to give him the type of players he can work with. What are your thoughts on how it's going to work out?
Yeah, I'd agree with what you've roughly outlined there, that I think it's a case of Emery goes, okay, this is my perfect player, and it's a list of attributes rather than a person. And then Sven's the one with the scouting department. You find that player for me. Because, he can say, oh, well, and Zonzi was close to what I was looking for as as one option. And then we've got someone like Jean-Michel Seri. He could also be an option for what he was looking at. But again, I think it's just a list of requirements. And then he says, Sven, it's your job. Go and find them. You got the scouting department. And I think he'll do the same with the centre-backs. Go, this is what I like in centre-backs. Find me one that fits all of the credentials that meets Arsenal. And then give them to me, because that's how he worked at Sevilla with Monchi.
Yeah, and Monchi's very successful at getting in the right guys for him as well, wasn't he? So let's hope Sven can be equally successful. John?
Yes,
when this was first announced, you were, to put it mildly, not excited.
Yeah, I was underwhelmed, I suppose. Was the word
I think you'll be very PC.
No,
there.
you go back and watch it. I definitely said underwhelmed. I was trying to be polite.
Okay. So looking at the appointment now, okay, which players in the squad do you think are going to be excited by this appointment, and which ones do you think are going to be thinking, oh bugger?
I think most of them are going to be excited because it's just something new. They've been, however long you've been at Arsenal, depending on what player you are, you've been training the same way every single day for, however many years. That's all you've known. So that's a big excitement for any player. You hear that when players move club or change manager, they always say, oh, the training's different. It makes it fresh, exciting every day, that kind of thing. I know sometimes it's a bit of a throwaway line, but from everything I've heard about Emery, from what journalists have said about him and ex-players and stuff, he does make it intense. He does make it exciting. It's like I said earlier, I think there will be some that won't enjoy it because you won't be able to coast anymore. It will not be a comfortable environment where you can just get away with doing the bare minimum and still get picked. I don't know who those players are because I don't go to training. I don't see it every day. But I think, like Josh said, I think Xhaka will definitely benefit because that's what you had under Lucien Favre, and that's when you saw the best of him. That that kind of manager who, will coach to within an inch of where you're supposed to be. Bellerin will definitely benefit from it, along with quite a few others. So, I think it's more about what players will take it on board. Knowing which ones that don't do it, I've got no idea. Really got no idea.
Okay. There's been a comment, boys, get on mute when you're not talking. There's been some comments here. Right, we got over 270 people watching us at the moment, and I've only got 65 likes. What is going on? Get your finger tapping. Let's click that like button, please. Or the dislike, it doesn't matter. But come on, give it a go. Everybody's rushed home from work. People are chomping at the bit to give you bloody content, and you've only given me 65 likes. I don't get out of bed for less than 100 likes. Come on. Chatbox fantastic today. Fair play to you. A couple of quick shout outs. Shway TV, Marquis Hodges, Matthew Wright, Vishnu Sharma, Matt L. Roberts, they're all in there. Nicky Wilson, the one and only Nicky Wilson. Fly KJ, smashing the likes. No nickname required. I tell you what, boys, this is absolutely fantastic. Abdul Farah's gone and smashed it. Joe V82's gone and smashed it. Thunder Road. Tell you what, Yvonne Okafor. Sorry, Yvonne, every time. Alan Craker's there. Boy 10 Dio. The Drift MC is there. Do you know what? Happy Days Chill Doctor's there as well. Raj, question.
He's bolted,
He's bolted.
He had to go.
Ah.
He was very brief. You know, the Reverend is a very busy man. He heard there was some ITKs on Twitter who already had Emery's transfer targets down, so he's had to go and slay them quickly.
A quick shout out to everybody: Matthew Hudson, Kevin Reed, all these people in the chat box. We've just smashed 100 likes. You're rock stars. We've got 4 dislikes, mind you. So I just thank you ever so much. You're always top notch. There will be an important shout out at the end of the show. So please, okay, if you have got to go, please listen at the end. I got something important I need to speak about, and I would really love your support if you could, guys. It is important, and we'll talk about it at the end of the show. So please listen at the end of the show for that. It would mean the world to us all. Steve, you have followed the Arsenal for a long, long time. There's only the Holic who I know, personally, who's followed them for longer. What does this appointment strike you as? Do you see this as a bit of a cross between Arsene and George, or do you not want to associate him with either and leave him have his own way? But what are the big strengths you think this guy's going to come in and really attach to this squad?
Actually, I think there's a lot of similarities to when George was appointed. We'd had Terry Neal, we'd had a few managers who were a bit flash, so allowed leading players to be lazy bastards and get away with murder. Not really doing what they should have done, not producing the goods. And along came George and produced, organisation, discipline. Those who didn't buy into it were lobbed out, and he ruled the place with an iron fist. I would say that Sagna brings, first of all, the no opting out for anybody. Those that stay are in 100% for it. Those that don't buy into it will be either on the sidelines to be shunted out or will be shunted out. But I think he represents something new. I mean, Arsenal's been there nearly a quarter of a century. Now our defenders have got to learn how to defend, and they've got to have defensive training again. The whole team's going to be drilled and organised like most Arsenal fans have never seen it before. Players are going to be improved. So, in a way, this appointment's like a hybrid between Arsenal and Arsenal in the first 10 years and George when he first arrived, because there's elements of both out of them. But I think, Emery's very much his own man. He's very much got his own philosophy, and he's very dedicated to it. I mean, anybody who sits there chopping up 12 hours of his players' videos so he can sit and watch them at his own recreational time, and then go and sit and chop up videos for individual players. That says to me he's a dedicated man.
Yeah, there's a serious attention to detail there, isn't there? And that I find very exciting, as it's the technical side of the coaching that's been missing from us for quite some time. Dan, you've got 300 games at Highbury under your belt, 300 plus games at Highbury under your belt. You've seen George, you've seen Bruce Rioch, you've seen Arsene. What excites you about Emery? What do you think? What do you think? There's going to be good times ahead. What makes you think there's going to be good times ahead about this appointment?
Well, he's a winner, isn't he? Whether it's getting promoted or winning lots of games or winning 3 Europa Leagues back to back, or whether it's like we were saying when he was at PSG his first season in the league, he lost 5 games in his first season there. All of them were away. So his home record was brilliant. 38 games, scored 83 goals. And then in that first season, that team scored 141 goals in 57 games. So, that just says there's going to be goals. He's going to get the best out of our attacking players. And it's been said many times by most of us that when you have that front line of Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ozil, Mkhitaryan, Ramsey, there isn't a better forward 5 in world football probably for me at the moment. Some have got better players, But with the ability they have to swap in and out position, the way they can move around with each other, the way you can slot one in and take another one out. And if you can get those playing with confidence and, like someone else was saying earlier, sort that defence out, because those players didn't come to Arsenal as shit defenders, did they? We bought them because they were good defenders, and they have just become lax. Like every single defender for the last, 10, 15 years, you don't come to Arsenal and become a better defender. I mean, that was just a fact of life. Even people that were world class, they were saying that I'm sure it's been said in the press many times that they were never taught defending, that they were just left to get on with the defending at their own. I mean, we've all heard Steve mention, I think he's mentioned it once or twice, about the lack of decent goalkeeper training. He'll probably bring in a decent goalkeeper trainer who's going to help them out. All these things are going to come together, and we're going to have a season where those front five players, in whatever combination he wants them to play in, are going to be let loose, and he's going to score goals. Everywhere he's gone, he's had seasons of scoring goals, seasons of winning stuff. And I didn't realise that he beat Liverpool 3-1 in the 2016 Europa League final. I mean, that Liverpool team were a half-decent team. But to get a team like Valencia and finish in third 3 times in a row, and he's moved around a lot. I mean, he's managed in Spain, Russia, and France, and now England. He's a well-travelled manager. And he's still only 46. I mean, he's a year younger than me, which is always worrying. This season, I've not looked at the stats too much for this season when he was at PSG, but didn't he win everything? Just looking here, he won the League Cup, the FA Cup, and their version of the Champions League, the Charity Shield. 57 games. He lost 6 across all competitions, and in those 57 games, 171 goals. But when you got the likes of Neymar and the wonderful Cavani, who is it Cavani that's there that Chris loves? I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's Cavani that does. No, it is exciting.
It's Cavani. It swaps in for Lacazette because Chris will love that. But I think the most important thing is goals. 4 letters, goals. We're going to get goals, people.
Couple of quick shout outs then. Frinton Dino's there, Alonso Spencer, Nina 97, the Drift MC, I think I mentioned him earlier on, gets 2. I tell you what, it's all good. Ali D's there. I missed that. Block 4 Gunner, David Norris, Marco Bricks UK, Marble Halls TV, Block 4 Gunner. David Norris says, the one thing that gives me pause is his away record. He won 0 games in his final year at Sevilla. To be fair, we weren't far off that this season, were we?
There was a reason for that because they put all of their eggs in the Europa League basket to get Champions League football. And I was listening to a podcast and they said that was a blatant ploy by the team. We cannot do well in the league. So in the second half of the season, they didn't win away. I mean, they didn't win a game, but they won the Europa League and got into the Champions League, which is exactly what they aimed for. So that was planned. Not to lose. I think they'd rather not have lost, but they were expecting that.
Yeah, the money side of it's massive for a club like Sevilla. JPB 3000's there. Jordan Curley's there. Hello, everybody. It's fantastic having everyone here. Josh, so Emery brings this breadth of experience from different leagues. He understands obviously understands European football. We've kind of broached, what he can bring to the squad. What type of player do you see as his most important signing for us this season?
Oh, it's a difficult one because I don't know who's going to sign yet. But
would you
the
think
most important position? I think the most important position to fill, which I think is where you're trying to go, is probably the central defence. It's probably the most important because if you can get a decent, back 10 in front of a dodgy goalkeeper, you can still make them look half decent. So I think goalkeeper doesn't necessarily need to be as high up the list as a controlling centre-back who knows the issues that his goalkeeper's got and can make sure that they're there to stop any of those issues occurring. And then I think it comes to goalkeeper and then midfield general. But I would go centre-back. It's most important for him to get in and get that right. But I think a lot of the problems that we've seen in the last couple of seasons would just be solved by coaching. And the personnel, by and large, is fine. You can find decent players there. You won't find many improvements that you could just gain by coaching them over the summer. And as we've said, not many of them are going to the World Cup. It's only Welbeck, Iwobi, Monreal, Ozil, and I think that's about it. Maybe El Neni. There's not a lot. There's a handful of players going. So the rest of that core squad are going to be there and get their lives drilled out for them. I think.
No. I agree with that. There's a lot of easy wins for him available for him here. John, what's the big? Okay, we've gone around the houses on what we kind of think. Where he can improve.
Mm-hmm.
What players might he want to bring in, etc. What's your overall feeling about this now? What's the biggest thing that strikes you about this appointment today?
I think it was out of the, what was it? I wrote down some notes from the press conference. So it was an 8-person list, they said, of people they interviewed, spoke to at various points. And he was interviewed on the 10th, and they made their, Gazidis and the other guys made their approach to the board on the 18th. I think it was the sensible pick and probably the right pick in the end. I've come round to it now, and I am happy with the appointment. The one thing I think this appointment screams to me is Gazidis got cold feet last minute on Arteta, who I'm fairly sure he was set on as having manager, and went, hang on a minute, if this cocks up and goes the wrong way, I might lose my job, so I need to go for someone a bit safer. Not saying that's a bad thing, because I think in the end he's probably gone with what is the more sensible and safer decision. But I'm not so sure he's done it 100% for Arsenal alone. He's done some of it for himself. That's a separate issue, but I do think that's the case. The fact he came in, he had a dossier on the whole squad. His analysis, what he said he wanted to do, I think that's all really good things. The fact he's worked within the system before, I think is great, and he's clearly quite happy to, take his orders and not question what the guys above him are doing, and just go along with it. That suits the model and everything. That's fine. I'm not sure how long term an appointment it is, though. I don't know if he can get us. I don't think realistically he can get us back to winning the title, but if he can get us consistently back into top 4 again in Champions League, then it's a start, because the squad's got to get, you've got to start building back up to that. And it's a lot more difficult now to make top 4, because realistically there are 6 teams that have to be squeezed into 4 spots now every year in the Premier League, regardless of how squads are doing on that particular season.
I'm not too sure about that, mate. I think if you look at our form this season, I've got to be honest. Our home form is excellent. It's only the Manchester games where we let ourselves down. If you look at our away form, we should be winning at least 7 or 8 more games there. In any normal season. I know you're always going to get a couple of shock results.
Yeah, of course. No, but what I'm saying is that, you'll have a season. So for example, Chelsea this season just gone, didn't have the best season ever and ended up finishing 5th. They should have finished top 4. They threw it away at the last minute. And then in the end, they shouldn't really even be given the chance, because Liverpool kind of ran out of steam and focused on the Champions League final. But when you've got those 2 teams, you've also got Spurs, you've got United, and you've got City. That's a lot of teams to try and squeeze into 4 spaces. So it does make it very difficult. So what I expect from him is to, some games might not be the most exciting, but we'll get the wins, we'll get the results, and we'll be more solid defensively. I'm really excited by the fact he talked about pressing so much. I saw Angel Di Maria doing pressing at PSG, and chasing back and stuff. And I've never seen him do that before. It's unbelievable. The fact he could get a player to do that kind of thing. So if he can get the likes of Ozil doing that kind of thing, and the rest of the team are doing it correctly as a team, as a unit, that's really good for us. But I don't think he's going to, get us to the level of winning the league again. I think he's a 2-3 year appointment, gets us stabilised, gets us back into Champions League, gets us in a good place, and then hopefully, one of the very, very elite managers is there available. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a sensible approach for the club to take.
No, I absolutely agree. John, Steve. John's just mentioned there. He thinks it's going to be a 2 to 3 year appointment. it's not a long term. He doesn't see it as a long term thing. In today's modern game, I think 2 to 3 years is just about the average, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I think obviously Arsenal's people just got used to seeing the same old face there forever and a day. I don't agree with John that he'll only be there for 2 or 3 years. I think if he achieves his targets and he does well, I think that given the ownership and given being realistic, the fact that the owner's not going to stick millions of his money into the club, and the club's got to pay its way, unless from somewhere we produce another 100 million quid or 200 million quid's worth of revenue, we're not going to get an elite manager. An elite manager's what, 15, 20 million quid. I think we approached elite managers. I don't think they turned us down. I think the club decided they weren't the right people to go ahead with because they had too much expectation on spending money and too much expectation on salary. I think all Arsenal fans have got to give this guy a break and give him the time. I think the FIFA generation have got to understand teams don't rebuild because you restarted the fucking console. And, I think he is going to take time. There are going to be some ugly games. And as you said, we will get better results. I think there will be a lot more improvement in the team and a lot more solidity about them. I think it's like this. It's not really what us as fans would like, because it comes down to the end of the day, Stan and Josh Kroenke that decide. So if at the end of 2 years he's got us back in the top four, we're in the Champions League, and we've done really well in the Europa League, and we've won a domestic cup, they'll continue that. Whether we think it's right or wrong, but they will continue it. And and I think at the end of the day, you've got to look at the point of it. A lot of us were very unhappy for 10 years with Arsenal, and we were forced to suffer it because Kroenke likes it. So if he likes Emery, we're keeping him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this develops, isn't it? Guys, anything want to bring up for your questions?
Just wanted to say quickly, I had a look through all the squads he had. I didn't bother with PSG because everyone knows the players there, and he didn't exactly have a say. But just looking at some of the players he's worked with in the past, so going back to Valencia, he's had so he had Juan Mata, Joaquin, David Silva, David Villa, obviously Morientes, guys like that you might remember. A lot of these guys, it was when they were younger, before they were sort of known and made their big moves. Jordi Alba, who obviously everyone knows out at Barca. He was there. Isco as well. So he's had some really good young players that he's played in the team. As Steve said earlier, Ava Banega, who was fantastic at Valencia and went to Inter Milan, my team, and unfortunately was absolute shite, sadly. And then at Sevilla, again, the same thing. He's had good players, Moreno, Koke, Kondogbia, Carlos Bacca, Perotti. So he's had some big name players. He's had some younger players who he's developed and improved on. Someone put in the chat earlier, you had someone like Alex Vidal, who, Sevilla managed to get decent money for and went to Barca. And he makes average players look better than they are. And part of that is down to the way his system works, because they all work for each other. So individuals look better. And I think Barcelona got ripped off for it. So that's promising. And if you're a young player in the squad like Maitland-Niles or Reece Nelson or someone like that, or Joe Willock, this is a really, really big opportunity for you, because I was listening to Guillaume Balaguer, who all of a sudden now is no longer a load of nonsense journalist. He actually knows what he's talking about. I suspect he's friends with Raul Sanllehi, because he knew about this move before anyone else, and everyone was sort of laughing at him about it. But he was saying, Emery doesn't look at passports or age or anything else. If you are good enough, you will play. And obviously in the same way Arsene will, but I think the fact that he will give them tactical guidance, whereas Arsene was always a little bit more go and play with freedom and do your own thing, and you will develop and learn that way and learn from the players on the pitch. I think that aspect of learning the tactical side of the game is really big, and I'm really looking forward to see Maitland-Niles in particular what he can do next season under a new coach.
It's going to be very interesting, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to go to questions, guys. We've been running for an hour or so now. And so we're going to go to questions for you and wrap this up. There's 275 of you in there at the moment. Hello, how are you? If you haven't pressed that like button, what have you been doing with your life? What do you think this is all about? You know, we live on likes. Come on, tappy tappy. Let's get going. Thank you very much. Love you all. Right, let's go to questions then. And I'm going to start with Josh. Josh, how the devil are you?
I'm a little apprehensive now after that.
Steve Whittle asks, why has John got his panties in his head?
I don't know if they're his. They're probably not.
It's a baseball cap.
Just get in the way, don't they?
Christ. I'm not quite the FIFA generation, Steve. I'm a little bit too old for that. I'm the sensible soccer generation. It was all the rage back in the 90s.
Sensible soccer, no comment. Okay, serious one then. Josh Thunder Road asks, thoughts on the visit Rwanda sleeve sponsor. And by the way, he thinks the kits are rubbish next season. Well, let's lay off the kits. This is all about the new manager, but it's a big deal's been announced today for the shirt sponsor. Go.
Yeah, I think aesthetically, how it looks on the kit, it's fine. I think it makes it look better, we'll put it that way. But a lot of things would. The flamethrower, probably. But otherwise, yeah, it's an Arsenal kit. I'll probably like it at some point. Most of the new kits, have always been a little bit like that.
But the new deal.
The new deal. Well, from what I've read about it, it looks to be more than just a shirt sleeve sponsor. We're looking to be a lot more involved in Rwanda in terms of their football development as well. So in case of, I think it's not Rwanda themselves, but the tourist board. I don't know if Steve's got more on this or is better versed in the structure of the deal. Jace, you're on mute.
So we're going to go to Steve in a second, but you see this more as a partnership going forward, yeah?
Yes, yeah, there's a partnership going forward. There's a video on Arsenal Player going through what they're expecting to do, sending out coaches there and trying to improve the players and create a footballing atmosphere in the country. From what I've looked at, apparently they're the second easiest African country to work with on a business scale. I don't know what that means in terms of tangible figures, but it's just what I've been reading.
Okay. Steve, obviously we know Rwanda back in the 90s went through some horrific times as a country. Obviously they're rebuilding from that. This could be a prime time deal for us. Get in the ground floor and really maximize the potential of the business links there, as well as attracting players from the country.
Well, I mean, the key thing to this is that the president of Rwanda is an Arsenal fan. And the tourist board, well, the development board of the country, which is their major sort of, they foresee their major industry as tourism, as pushing this partnership with Arsenal as, you know, the thing to visit Arsenal. And they said on average, they were giving out figures of that, but on average, how many times the Arsenal shirt is seen all over the world. And it was quite fantastic stats. I don't have them to hand. But the thing is you're right. Yeah, this is Arsenal community like they do in London, but it's abroad in Africa and they're setting up coaching schools. They've got coaches out there. It's getting people to work together, to work as a community, to really, if you like, try and get over some of the horrible things that caused the hideous stuff in the past. You know, it's profitable for Arsenal, but it also fits with Arsenal's ideals. It's not a hideous regime. And I think it's a good partnership and it's good money as well.
Excellent.
Jace, don't forget Rwanda forever. Just, you know. Someone had to do it, mate. Come on. Someone's going to do it.
I purposely didn't say that. Behave yourself. Sit down. Okay. Kevin Reed. Now, Kevin Reed's been a cheeky little monkey, and he's basically said, would you mind mentioning Katie Hellstrom, the hottest gal in Chicago? So, Katie, from all of us here at ABW, who's a cheeky girl, hope you're well. Hope you're having a nice day. You take care. Folly Oxwell. Should we shoot more? Oh, for crying out loud. It doesn't get any better, does it? It just doesn't. Jordan Curley, Johnson's for you. Jordan Curley asks, what is your... And we're going to go around the houses on this. What is your expectation for next season?
Ooh. It's tough to say now because we don't know what's going on with the squad. But as it stands, I would hope that he could at least get top 4. That would be what I'd... Yeah. I think that's what he should be at least aiming for, like as a minimum.
Okay, cool. Right. Danny. You're on mute, Dan.
Yeah, you coming to me really quickly. I was typing stuff.
I was trying to catch you by surprise.
Sorry. What was the question?
Sorry,
I wasn't listening either.
The question is, what are the minimum expectations for next season?
Champions League qualification. Other than that, I don't give a damn. I hate the Champions League. And I was saying to John the other day, all I've done is moan for years. Fuck the Champions League. We need to get back in the Champions League. I mean, look at me. I've gone grey and I'm going bald and I've got bloody hair. I'm a mess. I'm having a shave tomorrow. Don't worry.
Okay, cool. Steve, minimum expectations next season, mate.
I think top 4 Champions League qualification, and whether he does that by winning the Europa League or whether he does it by finishing in the top 4, it doesn't really matter. But I also think he might have a stab at a domestic cup. But as John says, it's very hard to envisage because we don't know who's booting out, we don't know who's bringing in, and we haven't seen the full effect of what he can do.
Well, to be fair, he's got enough information on the current squad. He's done his homework, the boy. You got to give him credit in that. Josh, your minimum expectation for next season?
Oh, I might be going a bit big on this one. Win the Europa League.
I was about to say, go on.
He's won it 3 times at Sevilla. It starts very slowly and ramps up. So it means he's got enough time to learn the squad during the group stages.
Yeah.
And he could really kick on in that latter half because it ramps up quite nicely. Providing nobody falls out of the Champions League, even if it's Atletico, I still think, under a different manager, we could really give them a go. So I reckon League, just a better away form, I think, would just be fine. Just if we weren't so turgid away from home, and we'd allow the manager a little bit of bedding in for that respect. But for me, I think Europa League final and win it. I think it's completely feasible. We can do that.
Cool. I got to be honest with you, for me, it's Europa League, winning the Europa League and finishing top 4. I think he needs to have a dual go at it. And I think, he's got enough experience to do that. If he fails, well, fine, but let's have a go. That's what I want from him. Danny, I'm going to stick with you for this one. Oh, Jesus wept. Okay, no, that's a different one.
Apparently, if my picture was on the Arsenal sleeves next season, people would buy the kit.
I'll
just say that I put in the chat window, I wouldn't go to Rwanda if you fucking paid me. I've left the house twice this year. I was at the list of countries I wouldn't go to is longer than the list of countries there are on Earth. I'm not fucking going to any of them. I went in the back garden looking for Bergie. That's the second time I left the house this year.
Yeah.
I'm not one for travelling.
Dear listeners, that is not anything against Rwanda. It's just a fact. It's just a fact that he doesn't leave God Manchester. So
yeah.
That's the way it is.
I went to Huntingdon once. I got shot at. It's horrendous.
Oh, don't.
Have you been to Huntingdon?
Why?
I grew up there. I can say what I want.
Oh, Jesus. I give up.
John's laughing. That means it's okay. There again, is John laughing at me or with me? Steve doesn't look happy. I think we should move on, Jace. Quick.
If you don't shut up, I'm going to...
I'm getting a new tooth soon. Can't wait. Oh, I'll be able to say fuck properly.
This is degenerating now. Behave yourself. Folly Oxis asks, is it possible that the players collectively will reject his methods, simply not play for him, much like Chelsea under AVB and in his 3rd year under Mourinho?
No, because I think this bloke is likeable. He's interesting. He's young. He hasn't come to play negative football. I think all footballers, other than ones that have been to Stoke, want to go and play nice football. If they've got a manager that's going to encourage him to play good football, I mean, it's a Shawcross. He doesn't want to play good football. He just wants to stand there and kick people. So if you've got a young manager in there with new, fresh ideas, and you've come from, Wenger's played interesting football, but it's not been good football. It's been dire football at times. This bloke's going to have new ideas. And if people don't want to shape up and join in with what he wants to do, he'll get them out of the club. Because most of these players we can get money for. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. But if anybody doesn't like the way that he does things, I mean, Jose is an instantly dislikable person. But the Villas-Boas bloke, I don't know if the team really turned on him. I think he was just found out because Portugal is a feeder league. That's a double feeder league, and he won loads of stuff there. And he won the Europa League with was it Porto? He was with.
Yeah.
He took over after Jose.
Why are you on Porto now?
Because you said that I'm on about Villas-Boas. He made his name at Porto, and then you said that they all turned against him when he was manager of Chelsea. Maybe it was more, the point I'm making, maybe it's more that he was found out that he isn't this new Messiah. He was indeed a very naughty boy. And then when he went to Spurs, it was even worse, wasn't it? And now was he over in Russia doing something, not doing very much? I think he might have.
I think he's left there now as well.
It's in China.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's a graveyard for managers.
Actually, no. Interestingly, last time he was driving in the Dakar Rally because he left his job in China to go and do that.
Well, there you go. So I don't think there's any fear of the players turning against him because he's a nice bloke. He's not a knob like him, and he has won stuff in decent leagues, and he's got a managerial career that people look at and respect it and go, yeah, you've worked your way up from the bottom, you've done well there. And every club he's gone to, he's done well.
Well, that's fair enough. Quick shout out to Matt L. Roberts, who asked the same question as Jordan Curley. Steve, Peter Coulson asks, will Emery's new broom factor make him much more dispassionate about the current players? Does this put Jack and Aaron's position at the club in jeopardy?
I would chuck out the word dispassionate, and I would put the fact that he will see himself as their boss, not as their father or their mate. And so he's got no emotion invested in those people. It's already been very clearly stated that he wants to build the team around Ozil and Aaron Ramsey. He was asked, one of the first questions that was quite funny, he was asked by some English journo this afternoon was, now you're here, what does that mean for the likes of Jack Wilshere? And he just said, it's not about individuals now, it's about the whole team. He didn't want to answer that. But I think, given the nature of his game, which is fast-moving, high-pressing, a game which requires a lot of physical ability, I just don't see where Jack fits in the mix. But he will decide that. I think the big question with Aaron Ramsey is, does Aaron Ramsey want to stay? Or has he bought into his agent's greed, let's get a free transfer and go somewhere else? I think that possibly Aaron Ramsey will stay. I think he'll like what this guy's doing. And I think if he's going to build a team around him and Ozil, I think it might well be an exciting thing to see. But there will be some players that he does just lob out, and there won't be any emotion in it because he'll just judge it straight on their football, their facts and their stats, and it'll be, you don't fit in with what I'm going to do, you can't adapt to what I'm going to do, you're taking up wages, you're taking up a fee that I can extract and spend, so off you go.
Okay, good. Josh, would an elite manager want to come to us knowing we can't pay the top money for top players like City, PSG, Barca, Munich and Madrid?
No, I would say not. I think you could still attract an elite manager because elite managers generally have a huge ego, and you can play on that and say, right, here's some restrictions and you're going against a massive league here. Have you got what it takes to make this successful? And yeah, we can't pay elite wages like Man United or Man City, but we are just paying our top earner £350,000 a week. Well, there you go, £390,000 a week. So we are paying big wages to big players. So I think it will come down to that eventually. We just need to get our commercial revenue up. And unfortunately, we don't have, we have a self-sustaining model, which means we don't have some form of owner doing some kind of dodgy deal with training kits to boost commercial revenue.
our commercial revenue will go up. You know, the sort of the stadium deals are coming to an end. They are going to increase. We will be competitive. It's as simple as that. You know, let's not play the victim with it. We will get better. John. Craig Murphy asks, are we going to see a lot of Ivan in the press nowadays, now that his shield, Arsene Wenger, has gone?
I don't know. He's positioned himself that way. The way he talked about the recruitment process, it was him and Sven and Raul, and he kind of didn't so much say. I think he actually did use the words, "I led the process with." You know, so he's definitely put himself in the front seat, which is fair enough because that's his job. That's what he's supposed to do. Whether we see more of him in the press, I don't know. I don't think he necessarily enjoys the limelight or anything like that. I just think he wanted to. The reason why he came out after Arsene made his announcement, and the reason why he was there today, just that's his job, that's his role. And obviously, at the moment, Unai Emery can't. You know, his English isn't fantastic. It's still very good for what it is. So maybe you see him a couple of times, but you're not going to see him like once a month over and over and over again, like the way you did. Who was there was the guy at United who was at Chelsea as well before that. Whose name I can't remember.
Kenyon.
Yeah. You know, you're not going to see him in the press all the time like that. I don't think. No. So you know, if there's like a commercial deal announcement, that kind of thing, then maybe he comes out for it, and maybe every couple of months he might come and do something in a press conference. But I expect that the majority of the time now it's going to be Unai Emery and, you know, his own coaching staff, and maybe for the start of it, if Jens decides to stay and some of the other guys who have been kept on by the club or at least offered the chance to, you might see some of them just because they're a bit more familiar with the British press at first until Unai gets used to them and the way he deals with them.
I think it could be dependent on our form as well. If our form's good, we'll see a lot of him. If our form's poor, he'll be in hiding again. Yeah, that's the way it works. Steve, Charlie Davis asks, and I like this one for you because you're a big fan of this guy. Is Lucas Perez about to have a renaissance at Arsenal under Emery?
Well, he's been told to report for pre-season. But Lucas Perez is a player that Emery's shown interest in the past. He likes him as a player. And I like him as a player. And I tell you, he fits in very well with his way of playing. He's strong, he's physical, he's fast. He knows the pressing game really, really well. Why do I like him as a player? He assists, he scores goals, he makes keepers work. He forms partnerships really quickly with the people that he plays for. And this is a guy, when during some minor game, someone like knocked down one of our young players who just come on, who ran 40 yards to smack the cunt. That's what I like about him. In fact, he's prepared to fight for his teammates. And I think that's the sort of thing that Emery likes. And I think it could well be that Perez comes back to Arsenal. It could be quite embarrassing that he could come back to Arsenal and become quite a star under Emery, because Emery's got a history of reviving people whose careers went wrong. He did it with our own Jose Antonio Reyes, who went back via various means he ended up back at Seville, and he was awful. And the fans were going, "Oh God, don't play Reyes, don't play Reyes." And after some months of coaching him, Reyes went from being hated to being legendary club captain and won 3 out of his 4 Europa Leagues there. So yeah, I think Perez could be something quite big for us. I don't know quite what that spells out for Danny Welbeck, who I see today was linked with a move to Turkey. But yeah, I think Perez, if he comes back and he has it explained to him, Wenger's gone, the past is the past. You've got a chance to make it here. I think playing with a manager that understands him and speaks the same language as him, he'll do very well.
It's going to be a lot of competition up top next season, that's for certain. It's all going to be there, and we're going to need it on all fronts. I would point out, though, if he doesn't realise Arsene's gone, he's got a problem. Sorry. John, I'm going to come to you for this one. Where's Danny gone? What's Danny doing?
No idea.
I honestly, this guy does my head in.
You wanted to see my cats. You said there's no cats on the show. It's making us sad. So I said, there you go, have some cats. Watch them. Puppies! Oh, hello.
Dan,
Guys,
stop.
Stop hating cats. We all know you love pussy. Get on with it.
Oh, Jesus. John.
There goes our 2.697% female listeners
Yeah.
or whatever that we had. That's just dropped again.
Yeah. 0. Jesus. Arian HQ asks, is Emery's heavy hands-on approach, could this make him fall out with some players?
Yeah, possibly. Because of how detailed he is. We already spoke about it, how many of them are going to be willing to run and do all the pressing and stuff. The interesting thing will be what the consequences of that are, because, the way football has gone now, players generally have much more power than the managers do. And it's sometimes even more than the clubs do, with the way they can sort of wrangle their way out of contracts or, get new deals and that kind of thing. So depending on what approach the club do and how much they back Emery, is he going to be able to go to Raul, Sven and Ivan and say, look, player X isn't doing what I want in training, so I'm going to drop him. And, whoever that may be, let's say it's a bigger name player, are the club going to go, well, you can't drop him, he's one of our big superstars and we're paying him, however much a week, so he's got to be played because otherwise it's a waste of money? Or are they going to give him the full backing and say, yeah, that's fine, well, you sit him down, we've got your full backing? And also then how do the other players in the team react to that? It could be an issue. I hope it's not. I hope they all respond the correct way and all want to go on and win things. Because if a coach has that attitude and wants you to work hard, as long as they're seeing results, the players, then they should all back it and go for it and work really hard. If we're getting results with his work and the work ethic he wants from the players and the style he's putting in, and it is hard work, but you are getting results from it. If any of the players don't back that, then they're the ones you need to get out of the club, because they're just not willing to. Then they're like, well, hang on a minute. Even if I do, I can win things if I work this hard, and I can't be bothered. I like the old way it was. So yeah, it might cause some problems, but I'm hoping that everyone just takes it on board and is like, yeah, I want to. Because there's a few players in that squad now that at the moment are, well, I don't know if I'm really going to get to stay here. Am I going to be flogged by Arsenal as a flop? And, and because of the way they've been performing the last season before, their offers might not be that great. So,
look, let's be fair, Kate. If nobody wants to get on board with it, they deserve to be turfed out. And I hope he does it. And he's as an example.
Yeah. I just hope the club back him with it, because it is difficult now for clubs because of the amount of power players have.
Yeah, but the bottom line is you have to take a stand somewhere, and if the club don't take a stand, then shame on them.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you're expecting, you expect every fan to pay the going rates for their ticket, for their shirts, for everything along the lines. If player X is not prepared to put in the prerequisite effort into improving his game and into partaking as a team, name and shame them. Yeah. Because when the abuse starts flying in, they'll soon change their minds. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
Josh. Ali D asks, who do you think Emery will pick as our new captain?
Oh, that's a good question. Monreal, I reckon, because he'll need a Spanish speaker that can help translate. And I reckon if he's got that voice in the dressing room, I think he'll be able to put his points over a lot better. So I reckon it's Nacho.
Okay. Steve, Thomas from Norway asks, who would you consider as likely to be sold from the current squad?
Difficult. I think Danny Welbeck might well be sold. It's not because maybe he won't take that on or not want to do it. I think the problem is Danny Welbeck's contract's up and he probably will want a lot more money, and I don't see the club be prepared to give him it. I think Jack Wilshere might be sold. He might have that new contract offer in front of him. They might have said he's going to sign it. I don't see how he fits in the system with Emery and the way he plays. And I'm going to drop a bomb here. I think Peter Cech will be sold. Emery plays with keepers who can play out from the back and who are very, very agile and can get down quickly and all the rest of it. Players that can run around their box who've got quick feet. That isn't Peter Cech, and I can't see him existing with the squad like that. Apart from that, I don't think there are any more obvious ones to sort of to say who may or may not go. I mean, I know people keep pointing the finger at Mustafi. I don't think he's going to chuck Mustafi out. He's going to look at him and think, yeah, I can improve him. I can improve this whole defence. I can improve the whole solidity and organisation of this team. And one of the biggest things with players is if you take out nerves and insecurity away from the team, then you make players better, because football's a confidence thing. And if you stop people being shot through by no confidence or having unreliable partners, then things change a lot. But the other thing is I can see us allowing Koscielny to leave as well, because I just don't think he's got the physical capability to compete in the Premiership anymore. And I don't think the club can afford to have someone on 100 grand a week hanging around, like looking. He's not exactly Mr. Morale booster, is he? So I think he's a goer as well.
Absolutely. Thomas from Norway has just absolutely ruined us. And it's the new chant, Emery, and it will be life together in perfect harmony. I'm not going on. It's not going on.
Just for that reason, Iwobi deserves a 10-year contract so he can.
It needs to be fucking sold immediately.
Guys, we've got one. Someone sent us one on Twitter. Fred Thurbin. He goes, "We've got Ozil, Mesut Ozil. I just don't think you understand. He's got a poorly back. He won't pass the Watford gap. We've got Mesut Ozil."
There's been a few great ones on Ozil, hasn't there? Okay, so we've had some questions. Last question of the night from Luka Kolakusach. What do you think of the goalkeeper situation? Apparently, Emery is bringing his goalkeeper coach in. I'll answer that. He bloody needs to. Let's be fair. We'll be all right. I think they'll either buy a youngster, they may keep Czech for a season. Who knows what's going to happen? But I think this guy gets it right. So before I wind it up for tonight, I did mention earlier on I would be making a bit of a shout out. If you could all please follow at Anthony Nolan. It's AnthonyNolan. There's a little girl called Kaya. She needs a stem cell donor. Her Indian heritage means, obviously, a matching donor needs to be of Indian heritage as well. We will be retweeting this from the pod account. If you could please retweet it. If you're of Indian heritage and you're in the UK, please, try to become a stem cell donor. You can help save this little girl's life. This little girl is a niece of a member of the podcast. And, we would want to support any of you in something like this. If you could please support us, we would love you forever. Retweet it, okay, right? Or follow the account, retweet it, get on it, please, guys. This little girl, she's beautiful. And without help, she has no future. We're all lucky enough to sit here talking about football, to talk about what's going to happen in the coming season. There's a little girl who needs our help. Get on it, tweet it. If you can get down, and it doesn't matter what color or creed you are. Stem cell donors are needed. Let's do it. Let's make a difference. We say we're a classy club. Let's act like classy fans. Let's support these people. I will love you all forever. Thank you ever so much. Thank you for your time. Please give it a retweet. Please give it a follow. Let's do it. That's it for tonight. My thanks to Raj. My thanks to Dom. My thanks to Steve. My thanks to John. My thanks to Josh. My thanks to Danny. Fuck Ellis. Carl, I don't know where the hell Carl is. I don't know what's happened to Carl. He said he's going to be on. What's happened there?
He's busy fucking up computers' lives in London. Of course, that's where he is.
He's a good man, is Carl, isn't it? He's a top man. I like the way he gets everybody annoyed. I love that man. Yeah. For the first time in 22 years, we have a new manager. This is absolutely... It's a game changer for us. On behalf of myself and the guys, I'd like to wish him the very best. Good luck. And let's look forward to next season. But Anthony Nolan, follow, share, do it. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your support, guys. You are absolute rock stars. Dan, switch this off. Good night and keep it Arsenal.